Good morning, sports fans. Welcome to the Cheap Seats on 96.3 FM, streaming live on the web at WLCNonline.com. Scott Kirby, Joe Ryan with you this morning. Jake is MIA. Don't know where he's at.
He said he was at some type of buffet. He'd be here as soon as possible.
We got Coach Allen in with us this morning. Good morning, Coach.
Good morning.
Morning.
Coming off a tough loss last night over in Jacksonville. We got to stop giving teams a big old an 18, 19-point lead and then have to fight our way back. I thought the kids played well the second half. Going to halftime, what was said? We have a beat button. Because it seemed, first half didn't go as well as planned. The kids came out second half and, they really turned it on. So,
that's what I said.
No.
I didn't say anything.
Oh.
You didn't have to?
You didn't have to say anything, huh? Just
no.
a look?
Yeah. Well, we didn't come out and play, the first half. And, you can't spot them a 20-point lead. And, our kids fought hard the second half. I thought we played exceptionally hard the second half. But this group here has to play 32 minutes of solid basketball to have a chance, and even playing the way we did, not so good the first half and really good the second half. We had a shot to win it at the end of the game.
Their guard is number 10 is White.
Mm-hmm.
He pretty much single-handedly kept Jacksonville in that game.
Yeah.
I don't know how many three-pointers he hit, but it seemed like he had about 25 of them.
Well, and we don't seem to want to locate the shooters that they have, and he had 7 threes last night, and when you get into a clutch game, you know where people are going. We took away their inside game last night, and we finally played with being physical with them, and that's how you have to play, and that's a good example of how we didn't play the first half. We were soft. I think they had 8 offensive rebounds the first half, and they got 2 the second half, and it's just being aggressive on the boards.
In the first half, it looked like our bigs kind of lost track of their big guy roaming that baseline. They were able to get a lob pass in there for an easy basket, kind of shut that down second half.
Yeah, we were covering it the wrong way. We had it all drawn up on paper and everything on what to do and everything.
Well, there you go. Now we're going to change headsets on you. I'll jump and get involved. I thought, the first half they seemed to be wide open down the middle of the lane, and that's what I was wondering if at halftime did you make more of an adjustment, or did they quit throwing the ball down there? It looked like they changed offense or something the second half.
No, our guys started to do what they were supposed to do. That's how we did it the first half was how we played them back in December 5th. And the second half there, we done the way the coaching staff wanted them to do. And
it's usually better that way.
One of my lines at halftime, I threw the pen down on the floor and I said, "Here, guys, you draw it up how you want to play it because your way's not working."
Well, once again, you were very animated on the sidelines. I was watching a little bit. I find you very entertaining.
No, I'm not that.
Even though I have the Central State 8 pass, I still would pay to go in and watch you when the aggravation starts. But I tell you what, you have to have hats off to them because you could have really walked in. You could have went into halftime and things became worse, and they didn't. You came back out of there all fired up and ended up playing, a great ball game second half.
Well, again, but we've played 20 games now, and using the excuse that we're an inexperienced game shouldn't be used because then they've played 20 basketball games and they should know and understand what it takes at this level to compete because we're getting down now to where we break the season down into thirds. You go from start of the season till Christmas, then you go from Christmas till the end of January or get through the Central State 8 tournament. Now then you're into the push for the regional, and the state tournament is what you're starting to push for. You take a look at our conference, and you've got Lanphier, Southeast, Chatham, Jacksonville. Those 4 teams are up there in the top. And you take a look, got beat by, we had a shot to beat Lanphier. We were in the game at Southeast. we had a chance last night to beat Jacksonville.
We had a chance to beat Jacksonville at the Civic Center too.
Yeah,
right in that ball game.
Yeah, and the Chatham, we were in that ball game. So, we're right. We're what, 5th, 6th place in the conference, but yet we're playing right up there at the top. And you have to have execution for 32 minutes to be able to get to that point. If I'm an outsider looking in a regional, knowing that I'd have to go to Lincoln, that's one place that I wouldn't want to go, I don't think, because our kids are starting to get it, and we're starting to, we had a setback last week with Garrett being out. He was limited last night because he didn't practice all week. But what time he did get, he was very, he done what he had to do, and he'll probably be limited a little bit, but maybe a little bit more tonight, and then hopefully by next week he'll be back in the swing of things. But every team has a setback usually of something, an injury. Well, Jacksonville, for instance, they've got Brady Hayes, who's their #1 scorer, who's been out and probably out the rest of the year. He missed all of last year, just injury prone, and but you gotta. There's nothing. Nobody's gonna feel sorry for you. You have to just step up, and hopefully somebody steps up and fills the void. And by doing that, I thought Bryson Kirby. I thought he had a great game last night.
Scott's favorite player. I thought he hit some big shots last night.
Not my favorite player. Who told you that?
Well,
that's what your mom told me.
Anyway, Bryson had a good one. KJ, if it wasn't for Isaiah in the first half, we'd have really been in a bigger hole. And at different points, at different times, different things happen. So we stepped up, and again, we had our opportunity.
And that's good to see other kids stepping up and not relying on Aaron Hopp as much. Last night, I think he had maybe 2 or 3 points first half. Not much on the 2 points in the first half, Lloyd says. Thanks, Lloyd. But you don't have to rely on him as much. But when the game's on the line, that's who you want the ball in his hands.
Well, he draws so much attention, and this is one of the things I've always said. Good players make the players around them much better, and Aaron's one of them because he draws so much attention, and that allows your other players to have opportunities that they're not going to get. And he creates for them, and we have guys that have to have their teammates to create shots for them. And basically our 3 perimeter players, Bryson, KJ, and Garrett, have to have Isaiah and Aaron to help them get open and to set them up, to draw people to them, and people go at them. And I thought last night, we found them, and that's how we got back into the basketball game.
You got some good minutes last night, I thought, from Grunder. He came in and did it.
I thought he'd come in, and one thing he was he was aggressive to the ball, and that's something that we've been searching for. And the ball's not going to come rolling to you. If you're waiting for it to come to you, we're not going to get it, because our opponents are usually much faster, quicker, bigger, stronger.
That's a big team last night.
6'7", 6'7".
So you had some football players out there too. I think their quarterback, 10's a wide receiver.
Yeah, they're a good basketball team. I don't think they can beat Lanphier, because I really think if you're looking down the road, you're going to have Lanphier will be at Jacksonville in the new setup of the IHSA state tournament, to where we're divided into a subsectional. So the 1 and 4, there's 11 teams in the subsectional. So we'll rank 11 teams, and then like 1 and 4 will be in the same regional, 2 and 3 will be in the same regional. So if I'm looking at it, I'm probably saying Lanphier's going to go to Jacksonville, and in our regional we're going to have Southeast and MacArthur. And then there'll be some other teams, but those 2 will be I think that'll be your top 4 seeded teams in the subsectional, and that's how it'll work.
Well, we know we can play with those teams, so that's encouraging, And
I think we've talked about this, but me, I don't remember anything. But Lincoln has some of that, right? Some of these games,
the regional.
We've got the regional, so there'll be Well, it'll depend on whether they send 5 teams here or 6 teams. And, you know, in our subsectional, we've got 9 of the 10 Central State 8 teams. The only one we don't have is Chatham-Glenwood, and they're a 4A this year. Then you have Clinton is a 3A for the first time, and Taylorville. That's the 11 teams that are in our subsectional. So, you know, when you get to the state tournament, it used to be a lot of fun knowing, you know, when you had your 30 or 22 teams, you would seed them, and usually you didn't have to play a conference school. You know, if you did, you did, but there was an opportunity you could play. You know, one year we played, Ottawa. You know, a lot of different teams, and that's what was really fun about the state tournament. But IHSA don't believe in having fun.
They're fun haters.
That may have been the funnest comment all day so far.
Coach, turn around today. Got a game in Decatur at MacArthur playing Eisenhower to wrap up the Central State 8 non-city tournament. Real quick, we were trying to find it last night. How's this going to work today? The JV plays at 3. And they're in a different gym. They're not in the main gym.
When they redid the both schools over in Decatur, they built a new practice gym. So if any of our fans have been to Collinsville for the Christmas tournament, they've got a secondary gym on the same line as what they have at Collinsville. The sophomore games start a game like varsity starts at 5, 6:30, and 8. The sophomores are going to play at 3:30, 5, and 6:30, and what it's going to be is the team that's playing, their sophomores will play the game before. So like our sophomores will start playing at 3:30, and our varsity will play at 5. Whoever the second game is, which is Chatham and Rochester, their sophomores will play at 5, and their varsity will play at 6:30, and then the last game will be Jacksonville and MacArthur. They will play at 6:30, and the varsity will play at 8. So again, that's one of the good things about the way the setup of the tournament has gone this year, is that our sophomores are getting to play on a regular basis.
Well, now you lost track there a minute. Got on your phone.
Yeah, well, I hope we're connected. We're good? Okay, we're back. So whatever you just said, nobody heard.
You want to repeat that, Coach?
Can you repeat that?
Well, I can. But
to make a long story short, the JV starts at 3:30. They're in the
Reader's Digest version.
Will be the first game in the main gym. Playing Eisenhower, I'm sure they're probably an athletic team, kind of similar to MacArthur or Southeast. Probably had a chance to scout them.
They're another team that I think they've won maybe one conference game, maybe, I don't even know. But they're down at the bottom, but they've played everybody tough. They played MacArthur to a 6-point game. They played Chatham to a 4 or 5-point game. They played Jacksonville to a 7 or 8-point game. So, you know, they're talented. They're athletic. It's totally a different type of team than what we saw last night. So, you know, they're going to throw a lot of different things at us. They'll play some 1-3-1. They'll play some man-to-man, in-your-face denial. Try to keep the ball away from you. So we've got to be able to execute back doors, and if we can do that, we'll get that pressure off of us, and we'll be able to find our shooters, and hopefully we'll have a fun evening.
Well, Coach, thanks for stopping by. Now you got some things to do. It's an early game. Like I said, the JV at 3:30, varsity at 5. Bus probably leaves around, what,
1:45.
1:45. So good luck tonight. Hopefully we have a good fan base for you. Wrapping up the Central State 8 non-city tournament. I guess Lanford put it on SHG last night, 103-56. Ooh. Bishop with 50. So You know,
he had 50 points.
50
I didn't
points.
see that. Wow.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, and it was real productive too. He was like 16 of 23.
Oh, wow.
12 of 12 from the free throw line.
Wow.
It's not like that he took a lot of shots to get his 50 points, and he's a phenomenal shooter when he's on. He's dangerous when he crosses the half-court line, and we've been very fortunate, and we've still got to play him again. That we've always kept him in check. We held him to 16 points when we played him, but I think we're sending 4 or 5 guys at him when we play them.
Wow, 50. That's a lot.
All right, Coach, thanks for stopping by, and we will see you tonight. We're going to take a commercial break, and we come back. We have a special guest. It's Jake. So stay tuned. You're in the Cheap Seats on 96.3 FM. Is this the right one? Hey, yeah.
This is perfect. Perfect.
Jim. Is this spring? I hear the birds.
That was a wonderful song, and you know what? We'd like to dedicate that song to one of our guys that just got here. That's the reason
Jake.
why.
Yes.
That music kind of goes along with it. And Jake, thanks for coming in.
It's just not a Saturday morning.
It's great to be here, guys. Thanks for having me.
Yep. We knew you wanted to see us. As always, you're fun. You know what I mean. There's some.
You're not a fun hater.
You know what I mean.
I'm going to tell you one thing. There's a new Panther fan in the house. For those of you guys that can't see us because you're on there looking at your radio dials, but Scott Kirby. He's a big Panther fan.
I'm all yeah.
He is all in. He's been a Panther fan
for
at least a
time.
week. A solid, strong week. I feel that he's kind of like a Blackhawks fan. He's just like a Blackhawks fan.
Oh yeah, it's always
he's been a Blackhawks fan since they were just got good.
I'm telling you what, I saw
that's
Cam Newton.
false.
I saw Cam Newton one time stop after a first down or a touchdown, and he peeled that Superman cape back, and
There's a picture of me.
I could see his little face just trying to get out.
Hey,
oh,
yeah.
Cam, I want to be
guys.
for you. He tried to peel out of there.
I love you.
Well,
I love you, Cam.
Hand me the ball. Hand me the
Carson
ball.
Palmer can't do that because he might pull a muscle.
Well, that's why we don't want anyone near him.
Yep. That's why they have such a good offensive line.
Yeah, big games tomorrow, boys. We got the Patriots and the Broncos going to kick it off at about 3:15.
I think at 2:00.
2?
It's odd.
That's weird. And then the night game, America's team, Carolina Panthers, and Arizona Cardinals
playing the Panthers,
and it's probably going to be an ice bowl.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, you have to hope that weather's helping us out there. You know,
better hope. You need
I'm
all the help
optimistic
you can
about
get.
it. They've had 2 inches of ice. They've had power outages. They got a bunch of snow. It can't have been a usual practice week for the Panthers, do you think? Now, they're professional athletes.
Maybe. I think that might help Newton there coming out of the pocket, though.
Oh, now he's worried. Look at him.
I'm telling you right now.
I'm just saying.
They haven't had a normal week of practice. And they have things are in disarray down there.
You got a quarterback.
The Cardinals are going to fly in,
pulling the ball down and running. I mean, that's not necessarily a bad thing either.
You know, they jolly stomped us last year when we lost our quarterback and we went out there and they beat us. We've got a chip on our shoulder.
That is true,
and it's not a cookie
chip.
It's a big chip. And we're going out there.
Look,
we're headhunting a little bit.
You're grabbing for straws, Joe. You're nervous. Go ahead, admit it.
We're not.
Nervous.
Oh, I'm nervous.
You should be.
They lost one game. That's a great
If our team was in there, we'd be nervous.
Yeah.
I mean, you should be nervous.
I am nervous. My team is in there.
Your team's in there.
You've been rooting for the Panthers all year. I remember.
I remember when he started rooting for them last week. Like it was last week.
I'm hoping
you got this new hat on.
Yeah, I've ordered a bunch of stuff off eBay, and hopefully it shows up here today.
That's why I brought this gnome in here, because he's casting a spell on you. And look, he's casting a spell on that little Cub guy. And there's problems. There's problems heading out for you, my friend. Yeah.
Yeah.
Kirby.
Well, hey, let's go to another quick break. We're going to have Jim Mammen on with us. He's the school board president. And we'll take another commercial break, come back, and, we're
going to have conference talk.
Conference talk. So stay tuned. You're in the Cheap Seats on 96.9.
Because I'm happy. Clap along if you feel like a room without a roof.
You got like that song.
Did he bring the wrong laptop?
If you feel like happiness is the truth. Because I'm happy.
Happy. That's another song we ought to wake up to.
Yeah,
I'm glad he didn't play that when Coach was here.
Yeah, he wasn't.
That would have been perfect.
Welcome back to the Cheap Seats on 96.3 FM, streaming live on the web at WLCNonline.com or on your TuneIn radio app. We are on the Twitter, Lloyd Mann the Twitter.
Tweet it up. Get him up. Get him up.
Right now with us, we got the school board president, Jim Mammen, with us. Good morning, Jim.
Morning.
Thanks for taking some time to hopefully clear up some issues. The big topic around Lincoln right now is the conference change from Central State 8 to the Apollo. A lot of the community members voicing their concerns. A lot of them feel that they were misinformed, misled. Just not a whole lot of information out there. People are going to form their own opinions. Hopefully you can kind of clear some of those up today with us and maybe put the community a little more at ease. First of all, I know back about 3-4 years ago, we started talking with the Corn Belt maybe about transferring over there. When did the talks for the Apollo, when did those really start forming and building some momentum?
Well, the timeline would have been in October. Maybe to clear some things up, we were invited by 3 different conferences to go there. One was the Big 12, the Corn Belt, and the Apollo. We ruled out the Big 12 because of the size of schools. Peoria schools are now in that conference, and when you go to compete against a school with 2,000 students in it, we felt that was unfair to our kids. At about 800 in the building, we have, if you look at the numbers, it says about 860, and that includes our alternative ed program. And but our main population is about 790 to 800 in the building. So then, as you stated, we talked with the Corn Belt about 3 years ago, and we were down to the final 2, if you want to put it that way, and they chose to invite IVC or Chillicothe into that conference. Then when it started up again this fall, we went back and met with the Corn Belt and the Apollo. The Corn Belt, as you may or may not know, was a little bit in disarray with Muhammad Seymour leaving. They invited Kankakee Bishop McNamara into that conference. So in terms of travel, we had to look at what was best for our students and our staff, plus the educational opportunities. And we felt the Apollo was more like-minded to Lincoln as far as the educational opportunities went.
And if you could kind of touch base about the educational, how does that affect? I know at the beginning you said you're changing for curricular events such as concerts, art shows, scholastic bowls, and then you came out and said our enrollment was down, and that's the reason for changing. How does enrollment? How does that help our education at Lincoln? See, that's what some people don't understand. Is it based on educational purposes or athletics?
Well, from a Board of Education perspective, our job is to give every student the best education we can.
Absolutely.
Like I said before, and Joe was at the meetings prior to the decision, that I would never leave a conference for one sport or join a conference or stay in a conference for one sport. We have to look at all of the educational opportunities. And with Muhammad Seymour going to the Apollo, they have a very good dual credit program, and we feel that we also have a very good dual credit program, but there's always opportunities to learn from other school districts.
Now, what does the Apollo Conference offer that a Central State 8 doesn't? I mean, that's what a lot of the confusion is when you say educational purposes. What do they offer that the Central State 8 doesn't?
Well, it kind of goes back to why the Corn Belt originally piqued our interest, was that the Central State 8 does not have superintendent meetings. They do not have a principals meeting. We felt that Mr. Pelker went to the Apollo and talked to those people. Principal, he's in charge of curriculum. So there's an opportunity to learn what curriculums the other schools offer. Our department liaisons have a chance to get together and meet and talk about what they're teaching methods, technology, that kind of things. And I think for Mr. Bagby, just a superintendent's meeting maybe twice a year to talk about issues. Of course, all school districts are affected by legislation out of Springfield. When we had our teachers dinner last May, and I talked to them and I said, pay attention to what's coming out of Springfield over the summer. Well, we're still waiting on that decision. School districts have to take financing into consideration. You know, we're very fortunate in the last 7 years we've been able to operate on a balanced budget. So, and a lot, probably 2/3 of the state hasn't been able to do that.
And the financial concerns is another issue. We'll talk about that here in a little bit. But another concern that some of the community members have talked about is the timing of the vote, the meetings that we've had, you know, during Christmas. A lot of people weren't informed of these meetings. They didn't know about them. It was published in the paper. I know today a lot of people, they don't get the Lincoln Courier. They were just wondering why it wasn't out there on social media, to where you probably would have had a better turnout from the community to voice their concerns about the change. And to follow that up, why did the vote happen so fast? Was it something that needed to be done now, or could it have been, you know, tabled, a little more discussion, a little more information, and voted on down the road?
Well, first of all, as was stated before, we had to notify the Central State 8 that we were leaving by June 1st. But the invitation from the Apollo Conference, they wanted us to make a decision by December 1st. And we said, no, we don't have a board meeting scheduled for that. Like I said, we were given some information from October to December. And we felt that with the information we had, we could make an informed decision.
So you're saying Central State 8, they wanted a vote by this past June 1st?
No, we have to know them the
Okay.
coming June 1st, and then we're still committed for a year after that. So that's why the change wouldn't take effect until the 17-18 school year.
Right.
Gotcha.
So the Apollo was willing to let us extend it for a board meeting into December, but how much beyond that would it have gone? I mean, would they have allowed it to go to the end of January?
No.
But then that would have backed us up from being able to move for 2 years if we waited until after June 1st.
Well, their invitation would have went away.
Oh, gosh,
And
just went away. The invitation from the Apollo.
Right.
Gotcha.
Well, with the invitation from the Apollo, they let Salem out early. So I guess that's a big plus. Another issue with joining the Apollo is travel times for these kids. You know, from being in the Central State 8, you're just 30 minutes away from, you know, each venue, except for Jacksonville, obviously, last night, which is about an hour or so. Concerned about travel times, the safety of our kids, putting them on a school bus during the week. Is that going to affect their education? Is it going to affect their study times? You know, how is that going to play in effect? Obviously, it's still stuff that you're still researching. But were those things taken into consideration when voting on this? Travel times, buses, are our first student buses reliable to, you know, travel the 2 hours to Effingham, the hour and a half to Charleston, hour and 45 to Mattoon? Was all that stuff taken into consideration as the process went along?
Yes, it was. We talked about, we kind of knew that Salem was going to get out of the conference, but that's not our decision to make that public knowledge. I think Mr. Bagby mentioned that at the meetings we had on the Wednesday, that he didn't feel the makeup of the conference would be the same in 2 years, was kind of his quote. We had talked about even putting kids on a charter bus if we have to. Now people will say, well, that's just an added cost. Well, a lot of your transportation costs are reimbursed by the state. So it wasn't like we were going to spend a lot of money or extra money on travel for the kids. There's also scheduling where, like now at Central State 8, you play baseball, for example. You play in Lincoln on Tuesday, I believe it is, and then Thursday you're at the opposing school. A lot of conferences go where they do those on Saturday. Like I believe the Apollo is set up where you can play a doubleheader. Say like we went to Mattoon and played a doubleheader. That would be both your conference games right there in one trip.
Okay. Do you mind if we take a caller?
No, go ahead.
Go ahead, caller. Who got on the air here?
All right. I'm going to try to leave emotion out of this. I was not at any of the meetings that discussed anything about it, but I've got a question for you. From everything that I've read, and heard, they try to use academic possibilities as a reason to justify this move, and really tried to make it sound like we're not doing this for football, when the two people that were primarily involved in hammering this home and getting this done were football guys. I mean, obviously Bagby's a football guy. How come it seems like school administration, school boards are never completely honest about why we want to move conferences? Taylorville was the exact same way when they left the CSA and joined the Apollo. They kept pointing to free and reduced lunches and how they compare in free and reduced lunches to the CSA compared to the Apollo, and they kept there was always this little undertone about our demographics fit better. But why not just call a spade and say this is a football move? It's been 30 years since we made the playoffs. That's way too long.
Okay.
Well, I will say what I've said all along. It's not a football move. I obviously care about how our students perform in all competitions, whether it be speech or Scholastic Bowl or football or baseball or women's golf, whatever. I'm certainly on the Board of Education to support all the students at Lincoln High School. And I'll tell you, from the board's perspective, we look more at education. If you look at the numbers that Mr. Bagby quoted earlier, we have 29% are in sports. If you combine sports and co-curricular activities, we have 52% of our students participate. That leaves 48% that just go to the high school for an education.
If they, I got some numbers here as you bring up the football thing, and obviously I'm a football coach and blah blah blah. But Mr. Bagby sent me some numbers from how we've done on in the past 10 years in the Central State 8, and I don't have all the sports, but he was pointing out that we're talking about that football is the only team that gets beat, but he sent me some records from boys soccer, 71 and 153. Girls basketball was 62 and 238. Girls soccer.
So that's changing. To be fair, Taylor Richmond has those girls playing very
absolutely.
well,
Absolutely,
and they're only getting better.
Absolutely, right. That's like I say. I don't mean this detrimentally towards anything that's went on in the past. I just have the numbers. Soccer was 44 and 118, and baseball was around 500, 176 and 186. And then you got Coach Cooper out there. Boy, Coach Cooper was on a roll, 195 and 140. So there were some. Those are some numbers that I had from the past 10 years for Central State 8. Just thought it was a good time to throw them in there.
And I know wrestling's been down a little bit lately, but wrestling in the past has been very competitive in CS8. Baseball, they've had years where they could have won the conference. They didn't, but they could have. Volleyball, just 3 or 4 years ago, they had the best player in the league, and arguably they had the best player this year. She could have been, conference player of the year. You look across the board, for the most part, no school's going to, be in the top 3 in the conference every year. Not even Chatham. And Chatham, if you look at it, between Chatham, Springfield High, and Sacred Heart Griffin, I bet they combine for 95% of the conference championships. Outside of basketball, what's Lanphier doing? Outside of basketball, what's Southeast doing? Outside of, outside of football, what's SHG doing? Some swimming, some smaller sports that they have success in, but boys basketball they certainly don't have success in. Girls basketball, they're middle of the pack. There's Jacksonville hasn't won conference in anything in years, I think. I mean, or I guess volleyball, but I mean, very few schools in in a 10-team league or 9-team league, what's been recently, or an 8-team league before Rochester came in. Very few schools have actually won championships in the CSA, and no one else is saying, well, hey, we're not winning conference championships. I'm happy to be competitive in a conference. I don't want to be like an Eisenhower was last year. Their first year in the conference, they were like almost dead last in everything. I don't want to be that school. But I look at Lincoln, and if I was Taylorville, I was looking at Taylorville before they left and going, boy, we're pretty darn good for the size we are. And that's a source of pride for a community to say, hey, we're going against the big boys, and we're holding our own. And that's a sign of community pride.
Absolutely. All right,
good points.
Good points, and thanks for calling in. We appreciate it.
Well, I think part of the education discussion is, the travel thing about kids not being home to do their homework. They might be doing it on the bus and stuff, and how good is that? And like you were saying, only little under half the kids are playing sports, but that's a lot of travel time for them to be on the road, away from their family, compared to what we currently have. And that's what's kind of concerning. I mean, we basically helped build the Central State 8, and we kind of molded it, and it worked really well for us. What's the chances maybe down the road that the Apollo is going to kind of swing back this direction, I guess? Is that something that might be some other schools from closer to our area joining or something?
Well, I think if you look at it, with Salem dropping out and Muhammad Seymour and Lincoln coming in, the center of the conference is switching north.
Yeah.
Now, what schools may drop and may be invited in the future, I have no idea. But I think that going back to an earlier question about the opportunity for students to get their homework done and all that, we currently have a athletic PE the last hour, which if you've got a baseball game, you get out of that PE to get on a bus and go play baseball. We've discussed the opportunity maybe to move a study hall right in front of that so the kids that have homework get the opportunity to get their homework done in the school setting.
Now, did we just kind of stick with the sports theme here? Did we look over all the sports that are offered in the Apollo and the sports that we offer? I know our swim and dive team are going to take a big hit because there's only 2 schools that have a swim team. They only have a dive team. That's Mattoon and Charleston. And a lot of your swim meets and dive meets are conference-based. Is our swim team going to take a big hit? Or, how are these other sports that don't get the recognition like a football, a basketball, volleyball, baseball, these other little sports that all of our kids are, participate in, how's that going to affect them? Do we know anything, as far as, those lines? Or
well, the thing you have to take into consideration, I guess, is every sport we has non-conference teams on it. And this allows us to go out and maybe get some other non-conference opportunities. We certainly believe, and maybe if you want to put it that way, hope that none of our activities, whether it be athletic or co-curricular, suffer from this. But there are, we have wrestling goes to Quincy now. Speech team goes up into the Chicago suburbs to find competition. It's not like we don't travel outside of the conference now. Right. We pretty much allow our coaches to schedule the competition that they play. So we would certainly hope with less schools in the conference means there's more non-conference opportunities.
Well, with conferences growing, though, it's harder to schedule those teams because they've already got their schedule set. So it's going to take some some brain power, some time to figure all this out. I know schedules are done about a year ahead or so. It's just a matter of, right now the Central State 8, we could probably schedule some of those teams, but if you got a U-High who's thinking about coming to the Central State 8, that kind of closes that gap right there. So it's going to be tough. I don't know, we're not going to have an AD. Do we have an AD in mind? Or I know Sam's on his way out. This is his last year, so you got to find an AD that's going to come in, and he's going to have a full plate here.
And we're conducting interviews for our open positions, not only in athletics but in teaching at this time. So I know this week they interviewed AD and football applications. So we're starting that process now. We'd like to get an AD somewhat on board, if you want to term it that way, so that they could go with Sam to the Apollo Conference and start getting ready for that.
Right now.
And how soon? How soon do you think we'll have a football coach named? Do you know? I mean, is that process, or
I can't answer that, Joe.
All right, Jim. Well, thanks for taking some time with us this morning. I know there's still a lot of questions out there. This is kind of a few that were voiced to us, and obviously we don't know the answers. So, it's kind of a rough time of the year, over Christmas and people gone, and then people sitting in the dark with no information. They're going to form their own opinions, and I think it's just a matter of not being enough information out there to relay to the community what we're doing. Is there anything else in the works? I know Salem is out of the conference, which that was a big concern, traveling all the way down there. They let them out a year early. Is there anything that you can share with us to kind of put the community to ease and to get on board with this? Because I've been looking, I haven't seen a whole lot of positive talk about this. A lot of people are concerned and upset. Is there anything that you can tell them, to ease their minds, I guess?
Well, there's a couple of things that we've talked about, like the spring baseball trip. They go down for 2 days on a trip, just like basketball does to Collinsville. With the Apollo playing conference games on weekends, they could do the same setup and go play Friday night in Effingham and come back Saturday and play Mattoon and get 2 of your long trips out of the way. That wouldn't affect the students and their studies any more than it does now. Like I said, we've talked about sending them on a charter coach. I know it's very uncomfortable to get on a school bus for 2 hours. We're going to try to make the transition as painless as possible. But
how realistic is that charter coach thing? Because you're saying that we get reimbursed from the state, and I know for a fact that the state has been very lackadaisical in paying a lot of expenses to schools here, especially the last few years. I mean, you've dealt with that, but especially now with how the uncertainty is with the budgets and everything. How is our reimbursement from the state for travel expenses? It's kind of one of those things. It's kind of out there. I mean, it's something we're going to put the bill for that for a while until we get reimbursed, right?
Well, I understand that. And to answer your question, right now the state of Illinois owes us about $100,000 in travel reimbursement.
Which is remarkable that you guys can keep us in the plus side with them not ponying up like they are. I mean, that's kind of a thing for you guys.
For the state of Illinois, you wait for your money no matter what category of spending it goes into. So
I'm just saying, expanding that expenditure to a charter bus as opposed to using our regular buses, that's obviously going to have a quite a significant increase in cost that we'll have to pony out until we get reimbursed.
Well, that's a true statement. Fortunately, the finances at the high school are such that we can afford to do that.
Well, that's good to hear. That's good to hear.
And quick other question. Is there any, and this is kind of unrelated to the conference thing, so maybe this is going out there a little bit. Is there any talk about bringing in a football coach that may not be a full-time teacher here at Lincoln High School?
Not at this time. When we posted the jobs,
you want a teacher in there.
Yeah, it's always better to have somebody in the building all the time.
I think it has to be. I think it has to be.
We've talked about this on the show before, too.
The head football coach has got to be at the high school. Right. I think no question.
We would like to see all head coaches be involved. They can keep track of the students, kind of guide them into things they need to be doing to stay eligible and that kind of thing. So,
which brings up another question real quick.
Well, hey, you know what? We told him 4 questions.
Now, with the travel times, once again, obviously your head coaches are in building. They can leave the school for these games. A lot of your assistant coaches have other jobs. Even maybe some of your head coaches have other jobs where they can't leave their job to go travel 2 hours to Effingham to coach. You're probably going to lose some high-quality assistants. How are we going to replace that? Because if you ask any head coach you talk to, the main thing to hit their program are their assistant coaches. And, you get what you hire. And if you just hire people just to fill that position, your programs are going to take a hit. How are we going to – it's all hearsay or, maybe that's not something they have figured out yet. How's that going to transition, when we go to the Apollo as far as assistant coaches?
Well, we would obviously like to keep all the assistant coaches we can. Our head coaches picked them for a reason to be a part of their program. Right now, the only thing I can tell you is that, to my knowledge, we have not scheduled a conference game yet. And Mr. Knox is very adept at being able to juggle the schedule so that we can make it as easy as possible on all of the coaches and assistant coaches. And we'll certainly try to do everything we can to make that happen.
It doesn't pertain to you, Joe. You don't work anyway, so you're fine.
Thanks, Panther fan. Panther fan. Lloyd, they can't hear you.
No, we can.
Hey, I still call you Coach Mammen, but thanks for coming on today. Really,
absolutely.
I think some of that it just needs to be out there. We hadn't really covered it on the radio show yet, and there's a lot of listeners out there that kind of want to know what's going on and this and that. I appreciate you coming in and just giving us some feedback, letting us know what's going on. Keep us updated. Maybe pop back in here a little bit. In a few months or as things progress and we know more, maybe we'll have you back in to.
I would be more than happy to come in. I would just also like to remind everybody that we have school board meetings are open to the public. There is an opportunity for, we take the first 15 minutes for anybody that wants to address the school board has that opportunity. So if you want to know what's going on at the high school, come out to a board meeting.
Okay. All right. Well, let's take another commercial break real quick. We come back, we'll wrap it up, and we got to, talk a little football for a minute or two. We're about
America's team's on tomorrow.
All right, stay tuned. You're in the Cheap Seats on 96.3 FM.
Sandman. Oh, you play the drums now like you know how.
Hi-hat. Welcome back to the Cheap Seats on 96.3 FM.
Thanks, Jim.
Have we made our picks yet or anything?
That's what the Panther fans are going to do.
Made your picks yet?
I've made my picks.
That's what the Panther fans are going to do, that Sandman thing. They're going to lay down and take a nap. It'll be so boring for them as the Cardinals run it up.
I'm telling you right now. We're talking about it. You got Carolina. It's at Carolina, right?
It's at Carolina.
It's at Carolina. I mean, and bad field conditions, Cam Newton being mobile. He's running around like a chicken with his head cut off. You know what all that means?
Victory.
It means he's going to be slipping and sliding. He's not going to get his feet underneath him to throw the ball.
You know what that means?
He's not going to be running as fast.
Fitzgerald's going to have the biggest game of his life.
That's right.
Phoenix is going to win this.
Get out of the way. They can't.
Arizona Cardinals.
You're crazy.
Bringing it in 28-17.
America's team. Thanks.
28-17.
There's room for you on this wagon.
You got to remember, Carson Palmer
fan?
is 65 years old.
He is. Best offensive line in the game.
Come on.
Carolina got shut down corners.
Shut down corners? They haven't faced
Shut down corners means absolutely nothing to Fitzgerald.
We have two guys on the outside running 4.25 40s.
Help me out.
There's no
they can't
helping
hear him.
you.
There's no
There's
help.
no helping
He's got
you.
Tampa.
I'm telling you right now, here comes
you
America's
can tell
team.
me all you want.
And look at you, jump ships. I don't want to see you in any other Bear gear ever again. You've been a Panther fan your entire life.
Yep.
Now, when the Cardinals go to the Super Bowl to play the Patriots, are you going to put some Patriot gear on?
I might.
You're going to put. I'll bring the Brady jersey up. You can put
I was
it
going
on.
to say, that's what he'll be. Yeah, that's exactly what would happen.
That's exactly right. You know what I mean? Can't you root for a buddy like Jake did?
So,
Jake don't even know what he don't even know about football.
So you're putting the
that's
Patriots-
football, right? Not St.
Patriots
Louis
over-
Cardinals.
I think we can go back and look at all the picks we've made throughout the years, and I guarantee
They're
my
pretty
record's
solid.
better than yours.
Oh, I'm guaranteed both of ours. But
Right there, that's the winner.
yeah, I think he's
He
won
only
every
won
week.
when we stopped playing.
When did we start?
I got 2 weeks in, and then I forgot all about it.
Yeah, I know.
So we owe him like $1,500.
I think we each owe him $1,500.
Real quick, we're on overtime, and Jim doesn't pay us overtime, so
I got here late. I'm good.
Tomorrow, the Lincoln Lady Raider basketball pancake and sausage breakfast,
Oh yeah, I'm there.
7 to 11:30. Whoa.
Cam Newton. I won the tickets.
Cam backwards.
Tickets are $7 for adults, $4 for children. 10 and under eat free. There'll be a 50-50 raffle and a bake sale. So get out at the Knights of Columbus and support your Lady Railers. You know,
Railers.
there used to be like 2 of these every weekend. These pancakes. I mean, people
I was at all of them.
Yeah, we know. And
it was hard on me.
well, I think it was to the point where people stopped going because they were sick of it, and now they're firing back up. So you can't get a
love
better
them.
breakfast than that.
I
you know?
love those things.
Yes, we know.
I do.
He loves them.
I do. I love them.
We are at Jake's next weekend, and he's going to have a huge inventory reduction sale.
Yes. Another inventory reduction sale.
I know, it's still going on, right?
Extended through this week.
Is this the last week of that thing? Because it's got to end.
Never
At some point in time.
It's coming to an end soon, guys.
Free beer next Sunday.
Actually, I hope it's never coming to an end for a long, long time. I mean, I'm not going to lie. Every time I bring inventory in, I want to reduce
Inventory reduction
reduce
sale.
to bring new in.
I need
You can't
to
get any
bring
better
more
than
stuff
that.
in.
Right.
An inventory reduction
Inventory
sale.
I don't know why they keep bringing the same commercial
It's
out.
hysterical.
It's like,
Well,
you
you
know, there's
gotta-
no inventory reduction in there.
Yeah.
It's not me.
Maybe if
I
you
don't have
show
any
up
say
on
in it.
time, you could redo your commercial. But,
but
they just
you're
got to
always
play what
late.
they
That
have.
has nothing to do with me.
You're always late.
Other than I pay for it.
Oh, at least you're paying.
Apparently, they
Jim and
didn't
Jeff
get
are
the
like,
check.
Jim and Jeff are like, this is what we're going to run this week. All right, well,
All right, fellas,
Let's
we
call Jake and tell
gotta
him.
wrap it up because people are wanting to listen to some country because that's got to be better than this.
Don't forget to protect the nest.
Well, you know, I was going to throw a shout out to some guys. We'll do it next week. They got an upcoming Elliott Sedgwick and the Moonshine Pioneers.
Yep.
They've got their CD debut coming up. We'll get them on next week with their little plug. Wanted to do it today, but we kind of went over. That doesn't happen very often. We're usually struggling to find stuff to talk about. So
Jim's giving us
Speak for
the
yourself. I
chop.
can talk all day.
thanks for tuning in. As always, you can check us out on Channel 5 and online at WLCNonline.com. I'd like to thank the Lincoln Hampton Inn for the coffee, the pastries. And Joe, thanks for having us again at your office.
America's team.
Get him up.
All right.
Good day.